church, where people meet God and Christians are tips. Hey, church, hey, church, ooh, church, ooh, church.
Good morning, everyone. God bless you. Welcome again to one more broadcast of Arise. I am your host, Pastor Danielle McCoy, and this broadcast is being brought to you by eChurch International. eChurch is the place where people meet God and Christians are equipped. And we invite you to join us every weekday at 6:30 a.m. and on the weekends at 7 a.m. for our Arise broadcast. We are in a 365-day series entitled Inspiration from A to Z. So we invite you to join us on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Make sure you subscribe and join us, follow us so that you will not miss any pertinent information or events, and tell a family member or a friend that we are on because these next 15 minutes could change your life. So our topic today, and it's a part two of the word position. So every day, what we do is pick a word during this 365-day series to expand on. So we're going to talk about the word position. Now, on yesterday, we gave Webster's definition, and there's two definitions of position. On yesterday, we talked about position as it pertained to your title, place, your title in life, the position that you have been given. But today we want to talk about being in position as it pertains to where you are. And these are Webster's definition: the state of being posited or placed, the manner in which anything is placed, attitude, condition as an affirm or inclined or an upright position, the spot where a person or thing is placed or takes a place, site, place, situation, the position of a man as in creation, or the fleet changed its position, and the ground that anybody takes on an argument or controversy. So again, we want to talk about where you are placed and position in that regard. Where you choose to be and where you show up is so very important. I know you all have heard the statement, be in the right place at the right time. Opportunities come to us, or God takes all of the situations and he puts all the pieces together so that we are able to have what we call an opportunity. He moves the pieces around in your life. He moves the people around in your life, and he creates a moment. Now, whether or not we are in the position or proximity to these people, whether or not we allow ourselves to be physically placed in an environment, so when all of these pieces are moved around, we're there. It's something that we have got to make sure that we're hearing from God and have ourselves submitted to his voice and to the Holy Spirit so that we can arrive at that moment and arrive at that moment on time. I want to give one example from my life. 24 years ago now, I was pregnant. I was a single mom. This was my second baby as a single mom. That's my transparent moment and testimony. And I was worried. God, how am I really going to make it? What am I going to be able to do to take care of these two children? It's already hard enough to take care of one. At that point in time, I was a cosmetologist, or a budding cosmetologist by trade. I was still in cosmetology school or finishing up, don't quite remember, but I just knew I needed to do something more. I had been doing hair at home on the couch, being a kitchen titian. I had so many clients that were coming to me that I felt uncomfortable continuing to do it in my home, and I wanted to branch out and do something different. Being in position, I decided at a particular time to change from one beauty school to another. As soon as I changed beauty schools, I met this young man. From meeting the young man in there and we became friends, we started talking and decided to open a hair salon together. I'm going somewhere. We opened the hair salon together, and I did not have money or resources to even do that kind of thing. But it just so happened that when we met and started talking about the hair salon, it was right before tax season. So I had one child, had been working a little bit. So I decided to file my tax return, and I got maybe $3,000 back. And I told God, I'm just going to take all of the money and put it into opening this hair salon. So the young man and I took our money, got the building, got the equipment, started to work. This was in January. I'm going somewhere. In March, a lady, one time only, called me and said, I want to get my hair done. I heard about you. I want some tree braids. I remember it like it was yesterday. I had her come into the salon. We were talking when I was doing her hair, and she looked around. She said, well, you have like extra rooms in here. What do you do with the other offices? I said, I don't have any plans for them right now. She said, let me put someone in there to do taxes. Can we rent the space from you? The little businesswoman in me, and I was in my 20s then, y'all. The little businesswoman in me said, I said, no, you can't rent the space from me, but you can teach me how to do it. And the rest was history. And the businesses that I have now were born out of that moment because the tax business became the primary source of income. What am I saying? I am saying if I had not been in a position, if I had not submitted myself to hearing the voice of God and doing my work by putting the plan or action in place and being in position that particular day, even answering the phone, showing up at work, I would have missed my moment. That's the only time that the lady came to me to get her hair done. That wasn't the only time we interacted, because she did sign me up for their tax class. And then after that year, I had no more interaction with her. And that was 24 years ago. God orchestrates moments for us, but we have got to make sure that we are in place for the moment. What are some of our moment stealers? Some of our moment stealers are hearing the voice of other people, having your mind made up, and being determined that you're going to do this particular thing and allowing someone else to be in your ear. Because I'm going to go back to my story. Then we're going to read some scriptures and allow you guys to get on to work when I don't hold you up too long. But in that moment, again, I already had one child. I was working little odd and end jobs and struggling, and I was just doing some hair on the side at home. And I saw where I could do one customer. And back then, y'all, minimum wage was $4 and I think $4.25, $4.50 an hour. So I could see, and I was only charging $25 to braid hair, and they were lining up the couch. But I could see where I could do one person's hair, finish it in 2 hours. So that was $12.50 an hour, as opposed to going to work and having to work 3 hours to make that same amount. And then, of course, as I got better and I started doing sew-ins, back then I was only charging, I think, $50, $75 for a sew-in. We'll say 75. I was charging around $75 an hour for a sew-in. So if you do the math, I would have to work multiple hours to make what I was making in 3 hours. So I saw the math, had the plan, knew that I wanted to put myself in position to be a salon owner, but I shared my dream. I shared my dream with a family member that was very close to me, that I love dearly. And the person, out of their good advice and their good intentions, said to me, I don't think you should do that. I think you should wait. You have one child already. You're pregnant. You need a real job. You need a real job so that you can have stable finances to take care of your children. That's too risky. And I almost went back, and I believe we did have a conversation to that particular male friend that I had decided to open the business with. And I started to second guess my decision. But thankfully, he was astute enough to say, no, girl, come on. You got the talent. You got the drive. We can do this. And then I heard the voice of God say, don't, you do this. And if you trust me, if you believe in me, and if you trust me enough to put yourself in position, put your resources in position to get you to this next moment in life, I'll make sure that I bless you. I'll make sure that the work of your hand will prosper at everything that you do. And again, the rest is history. Position, for my last point, also takes a sacrifice. The other thing was this: what kind of sense did it make for me to be pregnant, already had a small child, and to take that tax return? I was living in the hood. Let me be clear: living in the hood on Casita Road in a broke down, raggedy apartment. Okay. I didn't even think I was paying $150, $200 a month rent. That's how raggedy and broke down it was. Others would have thought, why take that money and put it in a salon business that you don't know whether or not it's going to thrive, fail, or survive? Take that money, buy some diapers in advance, okay? Because that's good logic. That's some good wisdom. Buy some diapers, pay your bills up for a few months, because I gave birth in April to my daughter. So this was January. I'm literally pregnant, big pregnant. Take that money, get some diapers, buy a new car seat or crib, whatever you need for your baby. Why take the risk, Danielle? That's too risky. So it took sacrifice. I had to say, no, I already have one child. I know what it takes. And although we want all this fancy dancy stuff and want 17 milk bottles and all the frills and everything, I am going to take some of this money and buy some things that I know I'm going to need, but I'm going to take the rest of it and I am going to invest in my future, because I don't want to miss my moment. And again, I thought my moment was to be this great salon owner. And I love hair, still do hair now. I did hair yesterday, but and I love people. I love meeting people. I'm a very artistic person, so I love that artistic, creative side of myself. So, but I thought that was going to be the it for me, and I didn't know being in position, standing physically behind that salon chair that day, was going to change the rest of my life. In the biblical narrative, the concepts of position and presence hold significant theological and practical implications. These themes are woven throughout the scriptures, and it illustrates how God orchestrates his own divine purposes through the placement and presence of individuals and his own manifest presence among his people. God has an appointed moment. He has an appointed place for you to show up, not just to bless you, but to bless others. Because in my countless years, it took 11 years before the tax business was so just booming, until I felt overwhelmed and I needed to give something up. And that's when I moved from behind the chair full time, and again, just moonlight every now and then and do it. But in those 11 years, that I was building the tax business and other businesses that I have, and the cosmetology industry is where I was making the bulk of my money. I met so many wonderful women that I've poured into, that they've poured into me, that we've built friendships. I put the okra plate up, the okra and rice plate, okra, rice, and pork chop plate online last night, smacking on it, talking about my best friend of 23 years that I met standing behind that chair. If I had not made the choice and had listened to those good intentioned people around me, I would have missed the moment to create a friendship that has lasted now 23 years. I would have missed the moment. The countless women that came in to the salon and that were in crisis and they needed help and somebody to speak into them. I would have missed my moment to do what God willed us to do. We talk about marketplace ministry. And I get emotional because I just love people so much. But we talk about marketplace ministry. I want to encourage somebody today that use your work position and your physical proximity for ministry to be a blessing in the life of someone else. God didn't put you on that job for you to have your mouth closed and not be a witness. And I ain't telling you to get fired and walk around carrying a Bible under your arm all day, but I am telling you to carry with you what's on the inside of you. And when the opportunity presents itself, use wisdom on how to minister to someone else. The days that I did not want to show up, but I showed up anyway. And when I got there, I understood why I needed to be at work that day, even though I may not have had a client, but why I needed to stop in the salon because someone would be there. And I needed to encourage them. I've prayed for clients in the tax office. Again, some days that I wasn't even supposed to be there, that I just decided I was going to duck off, and I came through and somebody was there and we got to talking and they were going through a medical issue or they were going through a crisis in their life. And I say, can I pray with you? That's why God has us where he has us. That's why he's located us where he's located us. I tried to move several times, y'all. I'm going to be in Charlotte for New Year's. I love Charlotte, North Carolina. I've lived in Charlotte. I've lived in Atlanta area, and I wanted to go back. Sometimes I wonder what my life would have been like had I stayed. But then I'm appreciative of the things that I've seen happen now that I've been in this geographical location. The idea of position is evident in the way God assigns roles and responsibilities to his individuals, often placing them in specific locations or circumstances to fulfill his promises or his purposes. Of course, we talked about Joseph's journey being sold into slavery to becoming the second in command in Egypt. Similarly, Esther's position as queen was pivotal in the deliverance of the Jewish people. And Mordecai even said it to her this day. And who knows if you've come into the kingdom for such a time as this. I met a young lady a few months ago, being in position. I'm opening a thrift and consignment store along with my boutique. So I'll have the new side and the used side. Still isn't open yet. I've been taking my time putting things together. So I've been working on this since school started. Yeah, because that's when we met, right before school started. The young lady had just moved to Columbus, had been here a few days, needed some things for her home. I had advertised, I was cleaning out my kitchen and had advertised some dishes that were in great condition on Marketplace that I wanted to sell, sold for a low price. She saw them on there and wanted to come get the dishes. From there, we talked, brokered a friendship, and outside of that, she was able to furnish most of her home with some of the stuff that I had that was not even for sale on into the public. Is just sitting back there. I'm just holding on to it, waiting until when we open. But being in position. When she came back looking for us, I wasn't even supposed to be there because we were not open. But being in the right moment at the right time, when you wake up in the morning, one of the things that I would definitely encourage you to do in giving God the first part of your day, praying, seeking his face, is ask God, where am I supposed to be today? What time am I supposed to be there? Order my steps, make sure that I show up to where I'm supposed to be on time. Our timeliness, thank you, Holy Ghost. Our timeliness has a lot to do with position. If we follow the voice of God, he's an orderly person. So he's going to make sure that we are moving in his timing, and his timing is going to be on time with the events and things that you're supposed to participate How many of you have ever showed up late to something and you missed everything? Start practicing being on time, being a person who shows up before time. Because sometimes it's what happens before the meeting rather than during the meeting that's going to make the difference, because during the meeting, everybody's there. But if you show up a little early, if you put yourself in position a little early, you don't know what opportunities you're going to catch before everybody else starts to fill up the room. The presence of God is a central theme throughout the Bible, signifying his involvement and active participation in the lives of his people. The presence of God is often associated with guidance, protection, and blessing. In Exodus 33:14, God assures Moses, "My presence will go with you and I will give you rest." This promise underscores the importance of God's presence as a source of comfort and assurance to his people. That's why we need to ask him and include him in all of our decisions, because his presence in your life, his presence in your decision making process is going to make sure that you show up in the Ark of the Covenant serves as a tangible representation of God's presence among the Israelites, and David signified the emphasis, the significance of the Ark. He said, "Let us bring back the Ark of God to us, for we did not inquire of him in the days of Saul." The presence of the Ark signifies God's favor and guidance, and its absence was keenly felt by the nations. Thank God we are in the dispensation of grace that we don't have to carry around an ark to have his presence, because we carry it around on the inside of us. But there's so many of us that take it for granted because we rely on ourselves rather than relying on the presence of God. But the presence of God is what brings us favor. The presence of God is what sits somebody in our chair and said, "Baby, can I teach you how to do this?" It creates that moment and that opportunity. The presence of God guides us to where we need to be. And the absence of God causes us to be off course. The enemy is okay with you showing up 1 mile away from where you're supposed to be.